Hey guys, Kyle, the Death Knight of Anime here, bringing you my review for My Hero Academia, chapter 196. So, the chapter starts off by basically telling us what we pretty much already figured out from last chapter, that Shinzo's mouthpiece is basically a voice changer, but one thing the chapter did take note of is that Shinzo mentioned how he hasn't, repeat, he hasn't tested the ability to be tested the possibility of him being able to control multiple people. So it's kind of one of those things where it's basically telling us that Shinzo is unsure of whether or not he can control multiple people, but at the same time it still leaves it pretty much possibly on the table for the future in order for Horikoshi in order to expand on that as to whether or not that Shinzo can in fact control more than one person. And I wouldn't be, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if that was Horikoshi's way of saying that, yeah, he can't do it right now, but he probably will be in the future. Like, it's Horikoshi basically saying, will he or won't he? Like, only I know. But yeah, I like it in that sense. And honestly, when you combine what we've learned of what Shinzo can do now between this chapter and the last chapter, like people have kind of already mentioned this, but it really shows in this chapter that, yeah, Shinzo is going to be a very pivotal figure in quite possibly pretty much bringing an end and weeding out the whole plot point of the UA spy. At least that's what I got from this. Like, if there's anyone who can be of use in terms of weeding out the spy of UA and who's leaking information to basically the villains in UA, then it is Shinzo at this point. He's really the only one who can really do that, and he can really do that right now. Like, he can fucking read. He can freaking brainwash people, for God's sakes. Or, I mean, on one hand, you could. I guess you could make the argument that pretty much with Shinzo's ability to control people, he possibly could be the spy, but at the same time, I don't know. Pretty much despite how much of an ass that Shinzo has been how much of a bit of an ass Shinzo's been in the past, I seriously doubt that Horikoshi would go the route of saying that Shinzo's the spy. I mean, I guess it would make sense, but in terms it would make sense in terms of his power, but I'm just not sure it's actually Shinzo. But I do think that Shinzo himself will in fact be a very useful piece in determining who the UA spy is for sure. Um, and one thing I also liked about Shinzo in this chapter is that even though he was given his badass moment last chapter, the entire chapter this week was basically him and the Class A team he was working with trying to figure out the best possible way to use his quirk to his team's advantage and to work it in a way that would be able to help them win. And it's one of those very simple but very effective situations where it's giving Shinzo experience and development while also showcasing that, yeah, Shinzo is definitely hero course material. In fact, you could even say he basically had a very similar hero moment to from Izuku you could say he had a very similar moment to basically what Izuku had in the very beginning of the series in this chapter, by acting on the spur of the moment the way he did, while also still saving, while also still saving the reveal of what Shinzo's role in Sui's plan is going to be, and keeping us guessing. So yeah, and in a lot of ways, I could say that Shinzo got a lot. That definitely got a even definitely got even though he was only showcased a little bit in this chapter, he still got a lot of development from this. I would say, like, it shows that, yeah, he's willing to work with others if it, especially if it means it furthers his goal. So yeah, um, and one thing I really loved about this chapter is, again, how much Class B was showcased. And I'm already really getting the vibe that this arc is going to be kind of the reverse of the Sports Festival arc. Because in the Sports Festival arc, the main showcase of that arc was Class A, while Class B pretty much only kind of had this secondary role. But with this chapter, I'm already kind of getting the feeling that it's going to be the reverse of the sports festival arc, where both classes are going to get their moments to shine, but the bulk of the development is going to go to Class B. And if that is in fact the case, then I'm all for it, because Class B has kind of been just in the background and really only doing the bare minimum. So if if Class B is going to be like the main class showcase, this will really make them stand out. And with what I think it was Ozaki doing in the end of this chapter. Class B is going to stand out in a big way after this, and or at least enough where us as fans are going to have at least one legitimate favorite between both classes. Because I yeah, and for those who already have a favorite in Class B, this is gonna it's gonna really like it's gonna really give their favorite in Class B some time to shine. Hopefully, like I'm still hoping that I'm still hoping that freaking Monma gets development beyond who he is. So take that, yeah, for what it is. Um, Now, the three Asuis thing. I think it's more than obvious we got a full preview of Asui's new power, and if I understand it correctly, she can basically create clones from the mucus she excretes from her skin. Um, yeah, that's really one of those things where I have very little to say about. Honestly, it's one of those things where what the hell can I even say about something like that? It's just so Asui. It's just that kind of an ability is just her. There's no other way to say it. And I'm curious, like if I did have anything to say about that, like I'm curious exactly what the what the limitations of these clones are going to be. Like, if it's going to be the same logic as shadow clones, or if it's going to be a little different. I mean, right now, with just the fact that they're basically clones made of mucus, like, just with that little fact alone of them being made of mucus, it already gives. To me, that already tells me that them being mucus clones gives them a very distinct advantage over anyone who tries to fight the clones. Like with since they're made of mucus, I imagine that it'll be harder to destroy them in terms with like if someone had a quirk like Yuzuki's, if they had just a pure like strength quirk or something. But although at the same time, pretty much going back to the last panel of Shiozaki using her powers. Shiozaki in this situation is probably the worst person for pretty much Sue to fight, even with this new ability, because because those vines, that vine power of hers has a very wide range. So even if the power she even if Sue does have this power to in order to multiply herself with these clones, it still doesn't give her much of an advantage if Shiozaki can just fight from a distance with her vines. So yeah, I'm curious to see how the fight between Sue and Shiozaki is gonna go, because it even says at the end of the chapter that it's gonna be the three froggies versus the vine princess, I think is what they said. But yeah, so I'm curious how this fight is gonna go, and to what kind of advantage that this power is going to give Sue. Because like I said, it's not going to give her against someone who has the power of vines, and with that wide range of being able to use vines the way Shiozaki does. It's not going to give her much of an advantage. So I'll be curious to how she uses these clones, that's for sure. And okay, so I can't end this review without talking briefly about the scene of Vlad King gloating. And okay, I won't say much about that one scene because I want to avoid a political debate in the comments section, but I will say that one scene of what the Class A girls do, Class A reactive Vlad's gloating, is just, that is some of the most self-aware humor ever. Like, it really freaking is. And I just kind of laughed my ass off at that. It's just amazing. But yeah, guys, that's my review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Twitter and Facebook. Death Knight of Inmay, signing off. Later, guys.